Annette Teijeiro is also a longtime member of our group and a frequent speaker. Annette and her family moved to Las Vegas some 40 years ago. As Latino immigrants, they faced challenges for the opportunities afforded to most Americans. Undeterred, Annette learned that commitment, education, and a sense of self-worth can change lives. She graduated with honors from Bishop Gorman High School. While in school at age 16, she was working as a translator for a law firm. Annette enrolled in UNLV and became a teaching assistant. Upon graduation, she entered the University of Nevada School of Medicine to become a physician and attended the University of Washington in Seattle for specialty training in anesthesiology. While attending school there, she published her first paper in the Journal of Anesthesiology. Upon returning to Nevada, she opened a successful private practice and became deeply involved within the community she loved. Since 1996, Annette has not only distinguished herself in the medical profession, but also within the fields of education and legislation. She has been recognized for countless contributions to her community, state, and country, serving on countless committees and boards. And again, how do I read the pages and pages of her accomplishments, but among them, Coordinator, Nevada Chapter, American Association of Physicians and Surgeons, Board of Directors, Clark County Medical Society Fellowship Fund, Board of Trustees, Clark County Medical Society, Committee Member, Sunrise Hospital Medical Center, Anesthesia, Sonora of Excellence Award from Latin Chamber of Commerce, Coordinator, American Association of Physicians and Surgeons, Chairman of the Anesthesia Department, Valley Hospital, Member, Nevada Healthcare Professional Coalition, Volunteer Sunday School Teacher, Past President, Clark County Medical Society, President, Vote Your Values, and many, many more. And it said, quote, Annette Teijeiro never hides from a challenge, but rather runs to them because she knows it will make a difference in the lives she has sworn to protect. So welcome, candidate for Congressional District number 1, Annette Teijeiro.
Thank you, Joy. It's so nice being back here, guys. I haven't been here for a while. I've been kind of busy. I've been out on the campaign trail talking to lots of groups just like you and telling them that my name is Dr. Annette Teijeiro and I'm running for Congressional District 1. Congressional District 1 is one of my favorite places because out of the 38 years that my family has been here, most of it has been in Congressional District 1. Just so that you guys know what the boundaries are and you get some idea, we are actually just outside the boundary of Congressional District 1. It ends on Durango on the west side. And on the east side, it goes all the way up to Hollywood, which is actually at the base of Sunrise Mountain. And it goes all the way south to Russell and goes all the way north almost to Lake Mead with a little wedge cut out in the spaghetti bowl and drops down to Vegas. So it's a pretty compact district. It's actually our inner city, and that's where I grew up. I grew up in the inner city. My parents came here from other countries. My mother is Puerto Rican. She is an American citizen. My father never, ever dreamed of coming to America. He loved his Cuba. Sadly, my father passed away before he could ever go back to Cuba as a free country. That gives me a little bit of a unique perspective of the challenges that we have. But talking about the things that Joy said, I have actually a lot of experience that from day one, I can walk into Congress and read a bill and understand it. I can walk into Congress and actually testify and amend a bill. Why? Because I've already done it for you. For 10 years, the legislature meets every other year. And there's a physician group with all other kinds of allied healthcare professionals. And we meet every Thursday to review what's going on in the legislature. Every single bill that has an impact with healthcare, I've reviewed. And as time has passed, I've also reviewed things for education when people have asked me, things that had to do with businesses because they've asked me, because they understand that I can actually read a bill, both on a federal level and on a state level, and figure out what is the nitty-gritty inside of this bill. Because as you know, some of them are huge. Some of them have a lot of wonderful language, but we need to understand how that's going to be applied. Because these gentlemen that are sitting here as judges, they're the ones who are going to have to deal with the gray areas. So they don't want to have gray areas. We need to have someone inside of our elected body that actually understands those words that we put into those documents. True?
True.
Because it makes their life a lot easier. It makes our life a lot easier. So the 10 years that I have reviewed legislation are also accompanied by my 20 years of being a physician in this community. I had the opportunity of staying at the wonderful University of Washington anesthesia program. They asked me to become an instructor. And I said, nope, I'm a desert rat. I want to go back home. The other thing that's really nice, and I'll tell you, is that we need a doctor in the U.S. House. And the reason we need a doctor is very clear to most of you. We have passed legislation that invades the privacy and the control of health care of all of you. All of you. And no matter what we do right now, the government is in that wonderful exam room with all of us. There's actually a cartoon that I had commissioned that actually has a bunch of people inside of our wonderful exam room, because that's how it is. It really is, because before you can have something done, you have the insurance company, you have the regulators, you have people in the Department of Health and Human Services, you have people in the Department of Labor now, you have people in the Department of Treasury, IRS, and you have people in the Department of Homeland Security determining what it is that we can do between you and me, the patient and myself. And that is darn scary. I'm going to share a personal story with you, and I hope I don't break up a little bit as I do it, because I've always been a patient advocate. But just recently, my brother got diagnosed with lymphoma. And I'm saying that he just had his chemo this last Friday. My mother right now is too frail for us to tell her. But here's the experience. It's hard for me. When he had his problems, he went to his doctor like he's supposed to. He had a little bit of VIP treatment because obviously people know me in the community. But honestly, he was admitted to Sunrise Hospital on an expedited basis to have his biopsy for his diagnosis. But the fragmented care that's created right now for all of us dictated that he would be admitted through the emergency room. His primary care doctor would not be the one that would be admitting him. A hospitalist would be admitting him, who's contracted and employed by the hospital, who then admitted him, barely saw him for just a few minutes, placed him up on the floor so that he could supposedly have his surgical biopsy. Well, that hospitalist is told in no uncertain terms, you have to refer to the person that is in the hospital on call. And that person, that general surgeon, didn't come up to see my brother. He didn't come up that whole day. I, of course, went and talked to the nurses in the operating room. He was stuck doing emergency surgery. And he said, you know what? Tell her that I understand that she needs to have her brother's procedure done. If she wants to have anybody else do it, please do it. The following morning, still no procedure. So as a doctor, because I know a lot of people, I called up someone who's very near and dear to me that actually takes care of cancer patients, because that's what we needed to rule out. She told me, I'll be right there. And then she called me back and she said, I'm sorry, Annette, it's Easter weekend, and the pathologist that reads this is not available. And frankly, I don't want to make your brother go through a surgical procedure so that then we have to do it again if the wrong pathologist reads this. So we canceled it. He came out of the hospital. That following Tuesday, he was scheduled and done on his procedure. It was a very hard day for me When she came into the room, I knew that he had cancer. The good part about it is, I also knew the oncologist. We were able to get him in right away. He was diagnosed, had his bone marrow, and like I told you, this past Friday, he had chemotherapy. That's the way medicine should be for all of you. He shouldn't have to have a big sister that walks him through that process. No one deserves a delay. But yet the system that we live in now, through years and decades of brokenness, and now with this new healthcare law, I was just speaking to this lovely lady over here about mental health, and she attested to me the same thing that I know. People are not getting the services that they need. In fact, it's worse and it's more expensive. How could this happen? There are 128 lawyers in Congress. In the House of Representatives alone, there are only 29 healthcare professionals. They're not all doctors. Some of them are dentists, some of them are veterinarians, but that's it. That's all the healthcare professionals in the House. And in the Senate, there are 40 lawyers and only 2 doctors. So we put out a bill that then became a law without the input of legislators that live and breathe with patience, that can stand up for your rights, that can say, you know what, this may look cost effective to you guys that practice whatever it is that you do. It may make business sense to all of you, but I have to face each and every one of my patients, and I have to do what's in the best interest of them. They don't. However, I will tell you that if I make it to the House, you will see me speak about all of your experiences, because we do have to change things in the House. And I want a doctor in the House. So as we prepare on this journey, our country is a little bit broken. How many of you are happy with the way that we're heading fiscally? Anyone happy to be over $17 trillion in debt? What does that mean for us as a country? Think about your own debts. Perhaps you have a mortgage on your house. Perhaps you have a mortgage on another house that you rent. Perhaps you have a car that you have to make payments on. Would any bank over time let you to continue and take out more money than your house is worth? Yet we have debt that outweighs the GDP that we can produce to pay for it. That's insanity. We need people that are going to be held accountable, that are going to balance that checkbook, that are going to make those hard decisions. Some of us will have to sacrifice, but it shouldn't be our elderly seniors. It shouldn't be our vulnerable veterans coming back from a war that they served, and the ones that are still alive today. It shouldn't be our children. It should be the areas that we can cut. And those are hard decisions, but they're certainly not impossible. And I'm sure that once we level out, then we may be able to invest some more in some luxury items, because that's what we do. Do we not have a budget? Do we not make money and then we spend just the right amount? Even though we live paycheck to paycheck, we at least know that we have some kind of a budget. But if we continue this way, this is severely handicapping our ability in our economy. When everything that is made somewhere else, America isn't producing anything. And if you don't produce anything, then you have to buy everything from overseas. Other countries will start to control our economy, and you've seen it happen. So fiscally, we need to get our fiscal house in order. Absolutely. Healthcare, we need to stop making it dangerous. Because if my brother would have had to wait another month, he probably wouldn't be stage 2. And his prognosis, which is what we doctors call the ability to survive the illness, may have been much worse. His complications may have been much worse. And as far as education goes, yes, education is important. It got me from a low-income family all the way up to being a physician, today speaking to all of you and asking for your vote and asking for you to trust me. It's very, very important. However, one size does not fit all. Because if I would have been put into a little box and somebody would have said, she's a woman, she's a Hispanic, she's bilingual, we don't need any more of those, she doesn't fit in the box, we don't want to give her anything, or we don't want to provide an opportunity for her to expand her knowledge, her ability to give back to our community, then look, I wouldn't be here today. But I can't understand why a bureaucrat in the Department of Education should have any business telling any youngster, any parent in this room, how we should educate, test, and spend the money that we do on education. It's precious. It's our country's future. And I think it should be local. The reason I shared with you that my father was from Cuba is because we need to awaken ourselves. The pain that I felt in my experience with my family was tough. The stories are heartbreaking. To have your country ripped away from you, your freedoms taken. We don't know what that's like, but I saw what it did to my family. Do you know what it's like to have someone come into your home and inventory it before you're allowed to leave a month before? And if anything is missing, a fancy glass, a tablecloth, maybe something like a picture that you had bought, you were not allowed to leave. People were having their wedding bands removed because they were too valuable. I have a nativity set passed down from my grandmother. It came from Spain. She had packed it very, very carefully. These people unpacked it. They threw the contents out on a table, and they informed her that only certain pieces could go through. And the only reason that those certain pieces could go through is because my grandfather was a Spaniard, and they were leaving through Spain to be there for 18 months before they could ever get here to America. And that was the only reason. Many of those pieces were broken. And the missing pieces I personally have painted and replaced. No one, none of our children, none of you sitting in this room should have to leave this country with the clothes on your back. That's why we need to change things. And that's what I'm willing to do for you. So I ask for your vote. I ask for your volunteer time. We do have a El Dorado parade coming. If you want to come and walk with us, you can. I'm in spot 32. So please, you're welcome to come. Wave a flag, wave a banner. If you can donate, even $5 gets us another yard sign, pays for postage, pays for walkers. Every little bit, skip a latte, and we'll make a difference in America. Remember, the general opponent is not bilingual and she's not bicultural. I can debate her in Spanish and English and knock her socks off and make her wear Obamacare like it's an albatross across her neck. One of the few people that can do that is me, guys. We can win this one, and we can take the heart of Nevada away from the Democrats. Thank you, and have a blessed evening.